Hey, everybody, welcome back. We're fortunate enough to have another FUTRtech Emerge 2020 Chicago sponsor, and that's Cohesity. And we're going to be talking to them coming right up, so stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back to another FUTRtech video podcast. The audio version of this podcast is now available on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and most of the other podcast channels. Or you can find it at FUTR.buzzsprout.com. Cohesity started out as a disruptor in the data protection market, but quickly expanded their vision to become a leader in the hyper-converged secondary storage space, and now in the data management market. And today we have with us Joe Tarantino, who is VP Americas for Cohesity. Joe has worked his way through the who's who of the storage industry, from NetApp to Pure Storage and now Cohesity. Joe Tarantino is going to talk with us about the state of the market and why Cohesity is betting on the data management market. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Chris and Sandesh.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And as always, we have Sandesh Patel with us. So Joe, I think let's just start off and, dig right in. Why secondary storage?
Well, it's funny, Chris, because, I've been at Cohesity now for 4 years, and, our messaging, our marketing was a lot about collapsing and consolidating the secondary storage market. A lot's changed since then, and we really don't, even refer to ourselves anymore as a storage company per se. We refer to ourselves as a data management play. And I know that that's in some cases a play on words, but the reality is, and 2,000 customers later, we're seeing our customers need for building a data platform, a data plane, so to speak, where you're able to collapse and consolidate not just data protection and backup, but multiple secondary workloads on one unified platform. And then having the ability to not just manage that data on-prem, but what data is going to be moving to the cloud, multi-cloud. And so it's giving customers an unbelievable operational efficiencies around managing their data more effectively.
So you guys, you started off, doing the data protection thing, and then you kind of expanded, the platform to include other types of things. And now you're sort of realigning along the data management front. What was it that you saw in the market that, you're like, this is really missing from the market, and this is what we need to bring to the masses?
Absolutely. So, make no mistake about it. We start the vast majority of our campaigns in the world of data protection and backup. And, it's no offense to these unbelievably great companies, and I will call them great, that have been around for a long time. Unfortunately, it's just been part of the data center, part of our customer environments. It's just been neglected for many, many years. And so there's an unbelievable amount of complexity and costs when you talk about data protection and backup. And companies like Cohesity can come in and in very short order improve not just the financials, but just the efficiency and effectiveness of what you really get out of backup and data protection. All of our customers have to do that. They have to protect their data. It's remarkable what nerve we really touched in this space, because I've never seen anything like it, you guys. I've been selling storage now for 25 years, and the size of customers that are, interested in deploying Cohesity is just remarkable. They're not going like a quarter in or a half in, they're going all in, because it's really easy to paint a picture of how much we can improve, not just their financials, but like I said, the overall effectiveness of their data protection and backup infrastructure. The beautiful thing about Cohesity is that the story doesn't stop there.
Right. So on that point, you guys and a couple other players in the market kind of came in and were really disruptive to the data protection space, right? What I mean now that there's so much activity in that space and there's so much going on and it's such a hot space. What are you seeing that like, hey, this is why we're doing it. This is what we can do better. This is a thing that we can bring to the market that's different than everybody else that is just missing from this market right now.
Well, with Cohesity, look, there are a lot of innovative solutions out there, and it's one of the great things about technology and what we do. And it's great to have competition, and I embrace our competition. I will say that, and again, obviously, I'm a little bit biased. I've worked here for 4 years, but Mohit Aaron, our founder, had a vision, and at its core, he is a file system author. And for those of us that have been around the block a few hundred times, file systems don't just pop up. You got to give credit where credit's due. I mean, companies like NetApp and Isilon have owned the file system space in the enterprise for decades.
Yeah.
And the reason why that isn't because people didn't try to disrupt them. It's because it's hard. We happen to have a founder with a group of engineers that know how to write a hyperscale distributed file system. And that's the foundation. Everything else on top of it, data protection software, file services, object store, cloud offload, dev tests, copy data management, all those applications reside on that platform. And so for us at Cohesity, that's what it's all about. It's all about that file system and that platform.
Well, you know what? It's funny. Sundesh and I talk about this all the time. I mean, because we've had Mohit on before, and we've spent a lot of time talking to Mohit. But the guys who come out of Google always build file systems, and the guys who come out of Oracle are always building databases. It's sort of like it just there's a real divide there in which way they go. It's always very fascinating.
Absolutely,
it's two different ways to get to a similar
the same place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but they're both really hard to do as well.
But they are different, and I think like when you talk about some of the additional functionality that Cohesity is really trying to do, that's sort of file system dependent. I mean, to be a secondary storage player really is requires more of a file system based approach, right?
Well, and it's complex. I mean, again, back to the point of why these companies have dominated that space for so long is that these things are just simply not easy to write. I guess it's easy to maybe create something that has a file share or it has native NFS or native SMB. But to have the degree of features of what's required to actually operate in an enterprise, it is no joke. I mean, we're talking about decades upon decades of development and features that are required. And so it's a journey for sure. We've just made our mark in that space, especially in the enterprise. I mean, when a lot of people talk about scale, a lot of people say, oh, our system is highly scalable. And for a lot of time, I mean, I know you guys get this, scale just meant big. Yeah. How big could you get? That's a cop-out. Scale is not just about big. It's about pressure. It's about legacy. It's about what is required to stand up in these environments at scale. And so, look, we got a lot of work to do. It's a journey, but so far so good. And the impact we're having on our customers is just it's awesome. And so, again, a lot of work to do, but we're definitely off to the races.
Well, and you mentioned file is hard, and that's one thing that we've seen a lot. And I think that's why that's why NetApp, for example, was such a dominant player in that space for so many years, because to build it is hard. And I think they even found it was hard when they started changing the underlying nature of their platform to make it more scalable and grow it that way. I think that a lot of that stuff came back, and they remembered how hard it was to get there. And you see so many companies over the years try to do it well, but it really is challenging. There's a lot of subtle gotchas, especially when you look at scale.
Subtle gotchas for sure. And then let's not forget that we got to save our customers money, and so it's not just about how much does this application or box cost. It's about how does maintenance look in the future. This is where I think Pure just completely killed it. They did such a good job of reshaping how customers think about ongoing maintenance and how do I upgrade my systems. And there's so many lessons learned there. And so I know that we get all in the weeds about speeds and feeds and feature functionality, but you have to have the right tech to also now have the right financial model to deliver ongoing support and maintenance and how our customers consume technology. I mean, my time at Pure, it was an eye opener for me, you guys. I mean, people would do business with Pure. Yes, they had a great product, but it was because they loved to do business with Pure.
Exactly.
And that was like a trick that they just pulled off. And I, trust me, I never forgot it. And it's something that I absolutely aspire to deliver here at Cohesity.
Well, you mentioned some of the financials, like the cost saving things. And I think one of the things that we've seen come out of the pandemic here and the subsequent financial collapse around it is that cash flow is king right now, right? There's so much uncertainty as to what the business environment is going to be like, for the next month, for the next year, for the next couple of years, right? That companies are really, conserving their cash. And I think that's really changed a lot of business models, and especially for, people who are selling boxes like you guys. I mean, obviously you're selling more than just boxes. You're selling, cloud experiences and things like that as well. But we've seen this real shift to everything as a service, right? And I know you guys are doing some interesting things on that front too. I mean, what are you seeing around that shift in the business model for so many companies?
Yeah, Chris, it's huge. It's I mean, the way we train our teams now, obviously we got to know the ins and outs of our technology, but we need to understand how customers consume technology. And it all has to do with creating TCOs and ROIs around CapEx versus OpEx, and what are the new GAAP accounting rules, and can you capitalize or operationalize software purchases, and what happens if they decide to go with subscription-based software, and what SaaS look like. And all these things are so important in how you distribute and articulate a value proposal for our customer. And so we can't sleep on this. We need to be flexible. We need to give customers options. But make no mistake about it. I mean, Cohesity made the decision 2 years ago to go software only. So we don't sell hardware. We don't quote hardware. Our reps don't get paid on hardware. We want our customers to decide, what hardware platform do you want to roll our software on? Do you want to use HPE? Do you want to use Cisco? Do you want to use Pure Storage? We have customers using Dell, Supermicro. So we really want to make sure that we're giving customers the opportunity to pick and choose their hardware platform. We'll go in then and structure our software deal in the way they want to consume it. And so we're hearing a lot of our reps and engineers talk about models, not just on Cohesity SaaS, but this kind of term is on-prem SaaS. How do I give my customers a SaaS-like feeling, a consumption model on the way they want to buy technology, but leveraging Cohesity software? And so it's a journey again. I like where we're going with this. I think it's also setting Cohesity up for what is being rewarded in the market. It's unfortunate, but we all saw the Snowflake, and I don't mean the Snowflake IPO, unfortunately. That was remarkable, and I'm super happy and for all my friends over there. But the fact is that the market is rewarding that model, and that's what we're trying to build. What I was saying is unfortunate is you get these companies like Pure and Nutanix who are just, it's awesome what they've done. Mm-hmm. But they're being held down by that hardware drag, right? We don't want that. We're not in that business anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's an interesting, like you said, you started that journey like a couple of years ago, and I think the timing was really nice for that, because that really works out for the current market conditions. I mean, how have you guys, besides that, how have you guys been adapting to this new market? I mean, have you guys been making any pivots? You guys are kind of a really mature company, so it's hard for a company as big as you guys to pivot like that. But I got to imagine you're doing a lot of things.
I mean, we are, and there's some things we're seeing. I mean, it's not all bad. I mean, I get to talk to customers, I think actually more often than I maybe was in the past. I mean, customers are more apt to jump on a Zoom or a WebEx much more easily than it was to say, hey, I got to wait 2 weeks before I get to see you in person. We're also seeing that the enterprise, they seem to be moving business as usual. In fact, in some cases, I would almost say that there's a sense of urgency to get projects done now because we don't know what the future holds. Mm-hmm. So let's get it done now. Obviously, in the mid-market and in certain verticals, you guys, I mean, it's definitely going to be an interesting time. I mean, small businesses are probably going to be much more conservative. Certain verticals like the services and the retail industry, definitely going to see some slowdown there. But look, this is a time, if there's one thing I've learned over the years in working with guys like you, is that we need to support our customers right now. And I know a lot of people just say that. But the reality is whether it's the dot-com bubble, the financial crisis, the housing crisis, and now this, some of the best relationships I have ever forged was when my customer wasn't buying anything from me, but we stayed with them and we supported them, and we weren't disingenuous about that. We actually, we took a customer vendor relationship to a business partnership to almost to friendships in a lot of cases. And that's why this job is so fun, but you can't just say the words, you gotta live it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate you saying that, because I think that is really important. I mean, that is, you talk about sort of the partnership sort of selling and things like that. And not a lot of companies actually live up to that. And I think a lot of it too is we see a lot of inexperienced salespeople in the field these days. I think, one of the thing, there's been a lot of talent bleed from a lot of the industry. And I don't think that message is always, has always sunk in for a lot of the people coming up. So it's always good to hear people say that and reinforce that. Yeah. Well, I know Sundish talks about that constantly.
Well, it's different, right? Some people have different goals in their career, right? And, like for me, I love technology. I moved out to the Silicon Valley because I wanted to be a part of it. When you get into the IT game, the tech game, it is a commitment that you need to make to that industry. This is not something that you can just come into and within a few years figure it all out. Sometimes people are just looking at, I work at this company right now. These are my customers. I'm doing this now. I might be here next year. I might not be here next year. So do I really give a shit? This is doing the right thing over many years, not just doing the right thing that one time. And so that's why when you say what you say, it's like for all of us as professionals, the reason why, Joe, you and I got along really well right off the bat was because I knew so many of the same people that you knew. And as soon as I bring up your name, they're like, "Oh, Joe's great," Even Greg Goldman said that, which was really surprising.
Well, listen, Sandish, you're hitting on a couple things that I think it'll bring a smile to both your faces. Is number one is I can't tell you the number of new hire trainings that I've done over the years, and one of the messages I always deliver is be a student of the game. You're going to learn all about Cohesity. We're going to train you up. But if you're not a student of the game, right, you're doing yourself a disservice. And what I mean by that is learn everything. Why are customers making decisions the way they are? Right. The best reps, the best sellers, they're consultants. Their customers are coming to them saying, like, what are you seeing, Reed? What are you seeing, Goldie? Right. And they actually have an educated response, not just about their product that they're pitching, right, but about what's going on in the market. And if you want to be the best of the best, you got to be that guy. You got to be that gal. Yeah. Those are the people that I want. And you got to be a student of the game. And then the second thing around networks and people that we know is, look, it's no shocker, but this is a small world, man. You gotta behave properly. And so I got an opportunity. I have a senior in high school, and she goes to the same high school that I went to. And so they asked me to come in and talk about my job to the students. And I said, what do you want me to say? And they said, talk about sales, talk about high-tech sales. And I thought about it for a minute, and I said, well, I'm certainly not going to give these kids a presentation on storage. And so the more I thought about it, I ended up telling these kids, you know what sales is about? Don't be an asshole.
Right.
Treat people with respect. Learn how to manage your network, because I'm nothing without these people. I'm nothing without them. They are so valuable to me, my customer, my friends, my channel partners. Yep. I am nothing without them. And so you can maybe make a quick buck by being a jerk, but it's not going to get you to where you want to be. And so, I pride myself on that. I pride our organization on that. And it's just so important to me.
Yeah. One of the things that I learned from a senior rep at DataLink long time ago, he said he was resigning. His name is Chris Hall. And he goes, he's leaving. He was like the top sales rep and he was leaving the company. And he's like, here's one advice I'm going to give you. And I'm 24, 25 years old. And he's like, when someone says internally that they can't do something for a customer, you go ask them why. You go ask them, why can't we do that? You got to fight for your customer. He had his own different choices of words, which I'm not going to say, but his point was like, you have to create your success. You have to create your outcomes, So, and that's what we all need to do, right? Selling is not just collecting a purchase order and knowing when the decision is getting made and who's making it and whatnot. It's actually solving the problem that the customer needs help with, right?
Absolutely. And then the other thing, Sandish, that you said is, again, people toss these words around all the time, but it's got to be about the customer.
Yeah.
If it's not about them first, what are you doing? I mean, you're not going to get anywhere. And so, the great Dave Hatfield of Pure Storage used to teach all of us, here's the decision-making process. Is this the best decision for the customer? Yes or no? If it's yes, you can go to the question 2. Is this the best interest of my channel partner? Yes or no? If the answer to both of those questions are yes, then you can go, is this the best thing for Cohesity?
Right.
That's you've made a good decision.
That's why we love Hat.
Yeah.
He's the greatest.
He's one of the best. Yeah. One of the best, no doubt.
For me as a young IT sales guy, being in the Silicon Valley, I was working at NetApp, right? I was so lucky to have Tom Mendoza. I'm 21 years old, 22 years old, and here's a guy that can fire up a room, talks about culture, doing the right thing, and all of those things. And I'm looking back, and I'm like, wow, how lucky was I to have those types of leaders? When I meet Hatfield, when we meet these people that actually leave an impression on you, right, and they inspire you. That is the best. That's the best motivator, right?
I always use this analogy in that, look, we're all part of a coaching tree. You hear these stories about football and Paul Brown and Bill Walsh and all the coaches and that's spawned off of this tree. And I feel so fortunate and so lucky that I got to work with guys like Tom Mendoza. And then I go over and find myself at Pure Storage, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention Rob Salmon, who I absolutely have learned a ton from. And then I go over to Pure, and I get to learn from Hat and Fitz and Matt Burr. I mean, these guys are legendary and how to build a sales organization. And so I text these guys. I talk to them all the time. Obviously, we have a partnership with Pure, but my joke is that I try to channel my inner Hat every day. So they mean a ton to me, and they're just great people to learn from.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, and it helps when you have a good product, but I think you don't get to sell the good product unless you know how to do it, right? So that's another piece of sort of the evolving story of it all. So one of the things that we've been seeing is that especially with this sort of cash constraints that so many companies are having these days. On the sales front, there's been kind of a little bit of a shift of power in a lot of organizations from sort of the teams that are kind of making the decisions around technologies to procurement organizations, right? I mean, what's your take on how that shift's going?
Yeah, I mean, it's real, first of all. Not only is that real, but look, converged technology solutions have changed everything. There used to be a day, Chris and Sandish, I know you guys remember it, where this guy did this and this person did this. And now it seems like everybody understands the entire stack. But 100% as far as the financial buyers in our accounts are definitely having way more influence in how deals should be structured and how they want to consume technology. It all goes back to that point. And so, negotiating with these people can be very difficult. I know you guys are the experts on that. That's why we're so blessed to have channel partners like you guys, where we'd love to stay out of that. I know that sometimes it's a collaborative effort, but I think it's all about, Chris, flexibility and making sure that you have all the right options for customers and how they want to buy.
Yeah.
As far as price is concerned, we'll make sure our customers are happy when they cut that PO. They are going to be happy with us.
Yeah, it makes it challenging, though, I think, to communicate the value proposition, because of the people who are making the purchasing decisions and doing the negotiations aren't the same people who are getting the value out of the value that's being provided. It makes for a hard sell, I think, in a lot of cases, right?
Yeah, which hey man, as sellers, it's not supposed to be easy, right?
No.
But
the selling starts when you get your no, right?
Exactly. And we've always talked about that, right? Yeah, you got to create your success, you got to manifest it. It's not supposed to be order taking. But my question really on the procurement side is it even working, right? Is the customer getting the best value, the best price, the best service, the best support? Are they getting the best value out of this relationship and partnership?
I was just going to say it's such an interesting question, but the answer is all over the map. I mean, there's certain situations, I think we've all been in part of deals where it was such a celebration, that we won, you won, Sandish and Chris, and the customer won, and everybody kind of high-fived when the deal was done. And then I've been in other situations where everybody's pissed off at each other even after we got the order.
Exactly.
They're pissed, I'm pissed, and you're pissed. And it's like, this didn't even feel like a win because we lost sight of what we were even doing.
Exactly.
Like, it just all became getting to that price. And so, look, it's all over the map. I think that we just need to make sure that our teams are prepared to have those conversations.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a spot for procurement and IT procurement. We need governance.
Sure.
We need compliance. We don't want to break any rules. We want to be all cognizant of that. But if we want to help our customers transform and do things different and do the hard stuff, what's happening in a lot of our accounts, as Chris is alluding to, is the IT side, right? The customer on the IT side will say, "These guys are great. We love, been working with these guys for a long time. We want to continue to work with them." Even the vendors, like you folks, right? Cohesity would say, "We love these guys. They took an early interest in our technology. They know our technology. They can service it. They can support it. They know what they're talking about, and we feel better working with them because they're such a good Cohesity partner." But then when the value all gets sucked out, it just puts wedges between all of us, And then, there's friction between us and you. There's friction between the customer and you, the customer and us. It's okay to have governance and compliance, and I'm all for that. But I feel like my IT consumer is not getting the best value, and especially when those relationships start going south with vendors, that vendor rep could be thinking anything. And these days, turnover is high. People are not as loyal to their companies anymore. It's the millennials themselves. Just look at them, right? If they will leave that job. And so when that type of behavior is happening, is the customer really getting, at the end of the day, what they need? Now you got a new guy coming in, and he's deer in the headlights like, wait a minute, you guys sold what? And it was supposed to do what? And now I got to go clean all this up? It's like, yeah.
Well, and not only
congratulations
that,
on a new gig.
You're spot on, man. And not only that is that sometimes, when we get in these situations and we're trying to trim every single last bit of ounce of fat on this deal, and in your back of your head, you're wondering, am I affecting the integrity of this design? We better not be.
Right.
Because the poor IT guy, he thinks he's buying this. We got to give him the right solution, but we're under such pressure to drive the pricing down, or maybe we leave off that services line item, or maybe we don't give them the platinum support.
Right.
All these things add up. And again, are we giving our customers the best experience? And so, it's difficult. If it was easy, anybody would do it. And that's our job, to make sure that we're, saying no sometimes, like, I'm sorry, this is it.
Right.
Can't go any
Absolutely. And also, it's okay to disagree with the customer. And in fact, maybe we need to, and maybe we need to more. So many of our customers do business with us, and we disagree. we will think, I think you should do this, but then they'll end up making this decision because of either budget or, maybe a relationship with legacy vendors or whatnot. And, maybe it's a risk thing and they choose not to go with our solution, right? Or our recommendation, but we still do business together, and I think that's a healthy relationship. What's frustrating sometimes is I want to help the customer. I know what's happening in these deal dynamics and I want to speak up, but I don't have the relationship and the trust with the procurement person. So I just go with it because I don't want to disrupt it, because he's going to see me as a inhibitor in his agenda when I'm really trying to just do right by you. But you've created a situation where I don't want any tension with you. Right. I just want to give you what you're asking for and just let me do my job.
My experience with that, Sandish, is that it backfires more times than not. One of the things we talk about often is it's okay, you guys, to hold your customers accountable. It's okay. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean you have to be disrespectful. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean you have to be a jerk.
Right.
But customers want to be held accountable, and if you set expectations, now listen, they might miss those expectations, but at the end of the day, it's okay to hold them accountable because we're held accountable. And so right. I think what you're saying is 100% spot on.
Yeah. Awesome. The best deal isn't always the best deal.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you're in this data management space now. What do you see as the future of the data management space? I mean, what does this space hold for you? Where's the market going?
So listen, it's all about bringing applications to the data that we're consolidating. And so, Mohit has said for years that data protection and backup environments have just unfortunately been a very, very expensive insurance policy. Well, since we're bringing so many compute resources to the data, this is another one of Mohit's analogies, is for years and years, we've been moving the data to the compute. Mm-hmm. We're now going to bring the compute to the data. Why is that important? Because customers don't have to do these costly, risky data migrations anymore. We now have all these compute resources on top of this data that we're protecting. Well, now how do we monetize that? How do we bring applications to that so that you're now making way more effective use to your data that you've now consolidated? And so this message really is to, again, bring these resources to the data so that you're now making way better use of all of this data that's accumulated at enterprises across the globe. So the future holds us creating the Cohesity marketplace, which, much like the App Store, we're now bringing applications that are either written by us, written by third parties, or in some instances written by customers to actually do application resources on the data that we're protecting. And that's a cool story. That's currency, not just for us as Cohesions, as we call ourselves, but for you guys. You asked me earlier, Sandish, about what do we bring to the table? Well, look, we'll go win and lose on technology all day long. Mm-hmm. But since we're out of the box peddling business at Cohesity, I know that you guys are trying to become more valuable to your customers. And so if I can give you currency in the form of, hey, Sandish, Chris, you want to have a very interesting conversation with your CIO? Talk about this. Talk about application mobility. Talk about multi-cloud use. Talk about data center consolidation. That's what that person cares about.
Yeah.
They don't care about the next big bad box, but they care about that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's dig in a little bit more to the marketplace thing, because I think that's kind of an interesting idea. Are there a couple cool ones that you can just say, wow, some people like that you guys made or somebody else made that's just like, wow, this is such a great idea?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of them. One of them that we made was called the DR Runbook, which, we all have customers that need to test their disaster recovery scenarios. And while that sounds simple, it's most certainly not simple. And we've created an automation playbook that allows customers to just simply run a set of scripts on their data and actually test their DR. So a very simple one that we've rolled out, it's free. You can download it and just apply this application. A third party one would be more in the security sense, Chris. We have a lot of customers that obviously are worried about antivirus. They're worried about ransomware. We have third party companies like Tenable and others that you can just simply download that application right on the Cohesity cluster and start running those services on top of the data that you're protecting. Splunk is a partner where you can now run some analytic workloads right on the data that you're protecting. Again, making sure that there's a distribution of resources because, we got to make sure we're doing a lot of stuff. We got to make sure that there's quality of service across the environment.
Yeah.
But there's so much that you can do. And I guess the last one, it's a simple one, but one of our customers wrote an application that is available on the marketplace that just simply converts 1080p high def images and automatically after they age 30 days downgrades them so that they consume less space. Super simple, but just wrote it and now it's available for everyone to use. And so I'm super pumped about this. I think it's definitely exciting. And again, it's something that customers are really, really interested in learning more about.
Well, it's interesting. You just talked about something really interesting there, like extending the capabilities of the platform, both coming from Cohesity and then coming from third-party vendors, but also from customers too. So that's a really interesting. I think when you get the customers in that game too, that really adds a whole nother level of depth to it.
No, for sure. And they can, of course, make them private, so they don't need to share that with the rest of the community. But the idea is that much like the Apple iStore, these applications are just going to be readily available if you're a Cohesity customer. And so, look, it's early days. We got a lot of work to do here, but the concept is genius. And I think that it brings that same type of consumption model that customers are looking for to make it easier to just consume services.
Yeah. So tell me, we talked sort of about what's happening in the market, but what's in the future for Cohesity? What are the things? I mean, obviously you can't talk about everything that you guys are going to be doing, but not a full roadmap discussion. Yeah. But what in general, what kinds of things are you looking to do in the future?
Well, look, we're, from a business perspective, it's all about setting the company up for success. We talked about going to software only. We're not stopping there. We need to get in the annual recurring revenue business. I mean, and that shouldn't be just good for Cohesity. It should be good for our customers because it's going to set us up for the long run to make sure that the way we're structuring our business is rewarded in the marketplace. Mm. And so I think structuring our business properly is a key focus, Chris. Mm-hmm. As far as technology is concerned, it's really rounding out our portfolio around file and object. I think we've really checked all the boxes when it comes to data protection and backup. But that journey of having a fully featured functional file and object platform is going to take some time. We're off to a great start, but I think that's a huge focus there.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it'll be interesting. Like you mentioned Snowflake earlier, and just in difficult market conditions, an absolutely monstrous IPO.
That's crazy.
It'll be interesting to see how all that stuff plays out for companies that are, thriving in the market today. So,
absolutely, and the other thing I've learned in this journey of Pure and Cohesity, just because we've really taken companies that were sub $100 million in revenue and are building these, very scalable sales organization, is that our investment partners are so important to us.
Yeah.
We have some common investment partners between us and Snowflake and Sequoia. I never realized how important these partners are. It's one thing to get money. It's another thing to get the roster of talent that they have, the connections, the reach. And they're so supportive of our success. They're super involved. And the last thing I'll say about our investment partners and our board is that most of these guys are operators. They're not just deep pockets. These are guys that have run very large organizations. Carl Eschenbach at the president and CEO of VMware, Dan Warmanoven, the former CEO of NetApp. I mean, these guys are
Bill
operators.
Corin. Bill Corin was the
Bill Corin.
Yeah, Bill's amazing.
He's
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're looking to hire in Chicago, right? Is there? I don't know if you want to there's going to be quite a few Chicago people that might watch this if that's interesting to you.
Yeah, I mean, look, Chicago we got to get it right, and we have an awesome team in Chicago from a seller perspective. But again, lesson learned is not an earth-shattering news, but we got to have the right leadership in place. Someone that the channel community respects, someone that our customers and partners, ecosystem partners respect, and so we are on the search right now. I'm personally involved as well as our area vice president of the Central, and so this is something that is of paramount importance, and we're going to make sure we get it right, because when we get it right, it changes everything.
Right.
All right. So you heard it here. If you're an A-list sales leader, Cohesity's hiring. So
That's right.
Get out there.
Joe T at Cohesity.com.
There you go.
That's right.
Now you're going to get a ton of spam. So Joe, thank you so much for being on and imparting all this great sales wisdom. It's always great to have a guy like you who's been in the game for so long and has built up such a great reputation. So we really appreciate you coming on. Thanks for doing it.
Well, I can't thank you two enough. You guys are legendary. You're the best in the biz, and so thanks for having me on. And looking forward to doing more business with your team.
Yeah,
sounds awesome. Awesome.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks.
You got it.
Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, click that like button. Hit that subscribe button. That helps a ton. And if you want to get notifications when we post new content, click on that bell icon. And I will see you in the next video.